Today on Power Addicts, we are removing the old and installing the new. Let's do this. Now we're installing these shocks on a 2011 model JK, but keep something in mind. Your TJs, your JKs, most of your Jeeps in particular, the mounts are pretty well the same. There may be a few fluctuations here and there that I can't think of off the top of my head at the moment, but they're overall pretty much the same. So pay attention. If you can do a JK, you can do about any of them. Let's go. So first thing you want to do is get your bolts broken loose. 16 millimeter up here, you got two of them. You got one right there and one on the back side back here. Here, 19 millimeter, and of course you got your nut over here. Just get them broke loose. Once you get them all broken loose, this bolt right here, we're going to take it out first, which will allow the shock to kind of hang loose. Then we'll take those out of there and just wrap your hand around the shock and guide it down. Took my breaker bar and just broke them loose, and now we're going to take a little impact and walk them out. Pull your bolt out, and yeah, I think it might come out without having to go out and do a screwdriver. Take your ratchet, stick in behind it, wedge back on it. Hit the camera. Okay, so I'm going to go get my flathead screwdriver and get up underneath here and wedge that thing out of there. Dead blow hammer, kind of tapped it back in there to get it straight because it was kind of twisted and it was going to be a pain coming out. So now I take my screwdriver, boom, work it on out. Get your socket up here and get it lined up. And one little safety note, wear safety glasses, because whenever you do this, you're going to have junk falling all over your face, down your eyes and everything. So please wear safety glasses. Because you don't necessarily have to take both of them out, because what you'll see here in a moment when I pull the shock, they got little forks on the end of them, so one of them could actually hang on the nut to hold it in place while you put the other bolt in place. Sweet, that one's out. And see right there where it's forked? Since it's forked like that, and then that's still got one bolt up there, I can take the fork and the new shock, slide on the end. That'll hold it up while I start the other bolt. Got both bolts out. I'm gonna put them on the wire wheel and clean the threads up real good. Put a little aniseed so they're not so difficult to take out next time, which I don't know that I'll ever be working on this rig again, but we'll find out. You never know. But just do the right thing. Clean your threads up, make life easier. Now you see here, this is the fork that I mentioned a moment ago, and right there's the fork on the new shock. Now do not, I repeat, do not cut that yet. I see a lot of people do that, and next thing you know, they're struggling to put the shock back in. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this top piece in first. Once we get that lined out and ready to go, then we'll cut this. That'll drop down and you guide this in place, as you'll see here in just a moment. So you see right there, I got a little bit of aniseed on my bolt. Whichever one you want to pick is totally up to you, so I'm going to go with this one for the kicks and giggles. Go ahead and partially thread it in. So anti-seize up your other bolt, have your shock ready to go in, and have your little strap facing you, because you're going to cut that here in just a moment. Hang it on that first one, kind of let it ride a little bit. I've got a camera all in my way, I'm trying not to hit it. Go ahead and start thread this one in. Go ahead and run your bolts all the way up by hand until they're just about touching. You don't want it tight just yet. You don't want to start tightening any of your bolts till you get them all in place. Now I'm not tightening it down, the only thing I'm doing is running it up just a little bit further. You see that? It's not tight. Now let me change the camera angle on you a little bit, because what you're going to see here in a moment is that I'm going to cut this strap and allow it to drop down in place. Now before you start cutting your strap and it dropping down, you want to pay attention to one thing, and notice the angle of this versus the angle of this. This is twisted. So you want to grab hold of this, twist it, kind of get it in line, because whenever you cut that thing, it's going to start extending. You want to push it in line with this right here, okay? And so be sure to have your bolts cleaned up and ready to go in before you do this. See that crud right there? Get all that out of there. Make life easy on yourself. Oh, I can hear the keyboard commandos now. He's got the guard taken off his grinder, or technically the grinder side, the rock side, has got the guard still on it. The brush, I took it off because it gets all up in my way. Just be careful, okay? Move that camera back out of my way, and you guys still got a pretty good angle on this, so you can see what's going on. So now, take your cleaned up bolt and put anti-seize not only on the threads, oh, make a mess out of this stuff, but put it up onto the shank right through here. And that might be a bit overkill as far as the amount I'm putting on there. Odds are it's really overkill, to be honest with you. Because here's what's going to happen. When I push it in, it's going to go through this hole right here. Oftentimes, especially Jeeps that are out playing in the water, these bolts right here, if you don't put some kind of anti-seize or something in there, after a while, they start rushing to this eye right here. When they do that, dude, they're a beast to get out of there. So I'm really fortunate that this actually wasn't too awfully bad. So take your anti-seize bolt, drop it right down beside the tire, stand it up on its end right here so you don't get crud inside this. Stand it up on the ground, or whatever, however you can do it, because you want that staged. So whenever you go get ready to cut this, the shock is going to start extending, and it's going to go down. You want to guide it into this right here. So once it gets to the point to where you can line it up with the bolt, then you got the bolt set up to slide it in. So let's just see how lucky I get in guiding this thing in there. Right there, we're darn close. Now we'll just pull this out. Let's see, now get your flathead screwdriver, stick it inside that eye right there, and I pushed it too far. There we go. A little bit on the threads. It don't take much because anti-seize gets everywhere. Rake this stuff off. It gets all over my hands. Slide your washer on. Put your nut on. Now that you're at that stage right there, tighten everything up like it's supposed to be. Now here's what will happen if you make the mistake and cut this right here too soon. This thing right here is here to help you. As you've seen, I cut that, the shock started extending, I guide it into where the shock goes. If you cut it first, what you end up with is a shock that's extended out. You end up having to put a bottle jack under the bottom of the shock to push it up into place. Versus cut this first and just guide it into place. It makes life so much easier. So now, up here at top, take my cutters. And cut the top one out. Done with that, don't need it, trash it. Tighten up your bolts. Remember, while you're under here, protect your peepers. It's kind of bright outside, so I'm wearing my tinted ones. But protect your eyes, okay? Good job. Ain't that just pretty? Now, do this side. I'm not going to film that one. So I thought I was done with the video. No, over here on the driver's side, and now I've got one wanting to be a pain. So I thought I'd give you guys a little pointer. You see over on the passenger side, when I took that nut off right there, that the bolt pretty well was ready to slide right on out. Well, even the nut itself was difficult to come off on the driver's side. And the bolt does not want to move. I've hit it with my hammer, you know, dead blow hammer, brass end, so you don't damage your threads. So basically what's going to have to happen is, you can take your ratchet and do it right here. Oftentimes, your threads will catch on the bracket here, and you can walk that bolt on out. And take off your nuts up top, which will take the pressure off of this, and then you can walk that bolt on out. Like typically, I want this bolt out first, but sometimes, in this case here, when this bolt's going to be a pain, you may have to take the ones out up there first to be able to jockey this one out. So, yep. It didn't turn out to be as easy as I thought it was going to be on this side. As you can see, right there, part of it's all the way out. And all I'm doing is just take it, just like if I was putting a bolt in, just take my ratchet, and it's catching right there and walking its way out. So I might also get lucky enough that once it gets so far that I might be able to push it on through. We'll see. Okay, it can no longer catch there. There she goes. Now I'll take the ones up top out. Sweet. Now somebody's going to ask, what part number did you use for those shocks? Well, that is actually a good question, but it's a question I'm not going to answer. And there's a particular reason why. What build do you have? I don't know this. Do you have a stock? Do you have a 3-inch lift? Do you have a 4-inch lift? Do you have a 6-inch lift? There's so many different variables that comes along with what shocks you need to pick out. So just because I told you I'm using a Rancho number 1234s, that doesn't mean that's going to work with your rig. So if you get on there and drop in the comments and say, well, I got a 4-inch lift, what shock do I use? Dude, look it up. I mean, I can't give you a recommendation of what you need. I can tell you what, you know, part number you want or something like that, but you may not like that shock because that's another preference. Some people like Bilstein, some people like Rancho, some people like Monroe's. There's so many different brands of shocks out there. And shocks are kind of like, I don't know, shoes. Some people like Nike, some people like Adidas. I mean, there's so many different variables. So there's no way I could tell you, hey, you need to use this shock right here because it's perfect just for you. I can't tell you that. So, number one, what brand do you prefer? If you don't know what brand do you prefer, get on the Facebook groups, Jeep forums, and look around the comments. See what's the most common shock people use. If you want to run Bilsteins, or Bilsteins, however you pronounce it, go for it. Or if you want to run the Ranchos, go for it. They're all good shocks. But again, it comes down to purpose. There's going to be some shocks that's got longer extension than others. If you require a lot of articulation, you want a shock with a lot of travel. But if you're just a street rig with occasional light duty trail rig stuff, well, you can use pretty much a stock shock and you can get away with it. So, number one, you got to ask yourself, what's your build? Number two, what's your purpose? Number three, what brand do you prefer? That's the questions you got to ask yourself and answer for yourself before you can pick out what you need, okay? I can't do that. I would love to tell you, say this is the perfect thing for you, but I can't do that. I can't tell you what size shoes you wear. I can't tell you what kind of shoe you want to wear. No more than I can tell you what kind of shocks. Some are stiffer, some are lighter. I can't, you know. I know I sound like I'm beating a dead horse, repeating myself, but I go through the comments so often with the same repeated question. When it's often it's questions I can't answer because it's all about preference. Know your build, know your purpose, and know what brand. If you can answer those three questions, you can pick out your shock. So my Power Addicts crew, if you guys enjoyed this video and you learned a little something, hit that thumbs up, say yo dude, good job. If you get some education from these videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos that might be able to learn a little something. So, got the old shocks off, got the new ones on, and they look good. We'll take it for a test drive here in a little bit, see how they feel, but I'm sure they're going to be just fine. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Peace. Later, y'all.